Hello again. There was a time, and not so very long ago, when Britain had a particular identity, a set of characteristics which distinguished the nation from others elsewhere in the world. Britain was associated with the idea, for instance, of the rule of law. That is to say, that there was an objective set of rules which were applied equally to everybody. This went hand in hand with such things as habeas corpus, which protected us from imprisonment without cause, and also, crucially, to trial by jury. It meant that our innocence or guilt would be established not by the police or the army or professional judges or the government, but rather by a dozen ordinary people selected at random. These ideas were thought to be sacred, and we exported them to the rest of the world, not least, of course, to the United States. British people didn't need to show their papers to a police officer and could indeed avoid having any dealings at all with the state as long as they lived peacefully and didn't break the law. The British state was content to let them be and take no interest in any citizen who simply wished to live without having contact with the authorities. Then, too, there was the fact that we were a Christian nation, and although there were religious minorities and atheists among us, they could live freely alongside us. The essential nature of the country, though, was Christian. Children said prayers and sang hymns every morning at school and learned about the Bible. Often council meetings, local authority meetings, began with prayers, as did Parliament. Christianity was woven into the fabric of our nation. There were other values which the British held to, such as fair play, waiting your turn, and also, of course, minding your own business and not rushing off to the authorities to denounce your neighbour for breaking some rule or other. Courtesy to women and chivalry were also very much a thing among the British. Then there were little features of our culture which were distinctive and marked us apart from other countries. Fox hunting, by fortnight, that kind of thing. Whether it is being done by design, I don't know. What I can say with absolute assurance is that it appears that a concerted effort has been made over the last few decades, and is still being made, to remove or replace every aspect of culture in this country which serves to show that we are different from all other countries. Not that those distinguishing features made us better than other nations, but they're ones which simply made us different. Some of this seems to have happened spontaneously, such as the collapse of the idea that we should all queue up and wait our turn. Try standing politely in a bus queue in London and see what happens these days. You'll soon be pushed aside by those scrambling to board the bus and get on ahead of you. The concept of waiting your turn has become an alien one in much of the country, and growing children see this behaviour and copy it. Or try stepping aside when a tube train opens its doors so that you can let people leave the train before you get on it. Just see how people push past you as though you're an obstruction. Then there are other changes which have clearly been deliberately engineered by successive governments. The bank holiday at the end of May was always called the Whitsun Bank Holiday. It celebrated the time that the Holy Spirit descended upon Jesus' disciples. Anything like that which reminds us that we are a Christian country is being systematically removed. You won't hear any official mention these days of Whitsun. First, Whitsun was quietly abolished, and many schools are now being encouraged to do the same with Easter. They're calling the Easter holidays the spring holidays so that they can avoid mentioning a Christian festival. We see the same at Christmas in schools where instead of carols, a lot of schools now just sing vague, generic Christmas songs, pop songs, and so on from 10 or 20 years ago. Or try buying Christmas cards these days, which even show the Nativity, and see how long it takes you. or an advent calendar which shows the nativity either, for that matter. The present government is, of course, absolutely hell-bent on continuing this erosion of our culture. They are undertaking this in both serious and alarming ways, and also in petty, spiteful actions. So we see that the rule of law, which was once applied impartially to anybody and everybody, has been replaced by what many of us call two-tier justice and two-tier policing, whereby those who are seen as being right-wing attract heavier policing and more severe penalties if arrested than Muslims or left-wingers are likely to. There's no secret about this. An even more sinister move is, of course, the gradual abolition of the jury, which is slowly approaching. The old idea about a law-abiding person being able to live quietly without the government bothering him is also in retreat, with the idea of identity cards once again being advanced for no other reason than to control people and monitor their lives. Anything more diametrically opposed to what most of us would regard as British values, it's hard to imagine. On a smaller scale, we have the new attack on fox hunts, even though they no longer hunt foxes. Instead, they follow a scent trail across the countryside, harming nothing and nobody. Unfortunately, the sight of men and women dressed up and riding horses in that way, accompanied by a pack of hounds, is simply too British to be allowed to remain unmolested. This is the real reason that the government is determined to bring in a new law which will make following a trail through the countryside on horseback illegal. The only purpose is to eradicate a practice which is quintessentially British. If you wish to abolish the idea of national identity, then this is the way to go about it. Remove every aspect which marks that nation out from all others, and then pass laws against those things. If we carry on down this path, then within a generation at most, there will be no separate British identity. I think, I'm inclined to believe, that that is the ultimate aim of all this, that that's the end game, as you might put it, that the purpose is to stop Britain being a distinctive nation, to stop it being a nation state, and to try and make it as similar as possible to all other nations, either in Europe or Asia or Africa. The idea is to make an end to Britain itself.